All right. Well, I guess we have Brother Martin. He's our guest tonight, and we appreciate having him. I'm broadcasting. We're broadcasting from the whole planet Earth, in case anybody's beyond the Earth that's listening. I'm on one side of the Earth, and Brother Martin's on the other side of the Earth. Are you there, brother? Yeah, he's coming back on.
How you doing? I'm here. I always have to flip a few switches and change a few knobs when I come back on.
Okay. Yeah, I figured you were probably still there. I wasn't positive. But yeah, it's good to have you on, brother. Welcome to the show again. And I'll tell a little bit about your background. You're an entrepreneur, and you've had a lot of successful businesses, and you became interested in alternative energy and clean energy and the ministry about, it's been about a year now, year and a half, 2 years?
Oh, no, it's been almost 3 years now.
Okay, about 3 years.
Yeah, we're heading into 3 years.
Actually, before that, you were working on alternative energy also, right?
That's right. Since I really went kind of head over heels into it, I guess in around 2003, 2002, somewhere in there, I basically made it more or less a full-time endeavor, and I guess for about 4 to 5 years, I was actually had a small bit of funding behind us, and we did a couple of guys here did a lot of engineering work and prototypes and such with magnet motors and so forth. So yeah. So yeah, when I came across the ministry, though, it kind of changed everything.
Yeah, it's nice to know that the solutions have been here and they haven't been lost. A lot of people think that all Tesla secrets are lost. That's baloney. Tesla got them from, it was all handed down. Tesla said, if I have seen further than others, it's because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. And he's talking about people he's learned things from. And, these things weren't lost because Tesla died. People don't realize that there was an era of severe persecution for the advanced sciences, but we're coming out of that right now. It's not as bad as it used to be. We've got permission to go forward on a few things. We actually have the quantum energy enhancement technology in mass production now for about 13 years. And, this is the first quantum energy device ever in mass production. And, that should help people realize that something is going on and that we've got more freedom now than we had before. Because there were times where the ministry tried to mass produce things before and we got in trouble. But now we finally have freedom and permission from the dark side that's running the whole planet practically, to go forward and like home power units and so on. So it's a wonderful time to live in. I'm privileged to be in these final days when God is gathering all things together again in Christ. He's setting up his kingdom here on this earth, and he's going to come in power one of these days. And the question is, when he comes back, are we, all of us listeners, are we going to be doing the things God wants us to do, or are we going to just be supporting this corrupt old system? It's God's people. He's going to find them. That's what the scripture says. He says that over and over again. Will I find real faith on this earth? Will I find people doing the will of God when I return? Jesus said that over and over again. And so it's a big question. People need to ask themselves that question.
Right.
Appreciate people like you coming on board and helping with this cause, because all it would take is like 300 people pulling together. We could make this thing happen for everybody.
Yeah, I think again we've said this many times. The biggest obstacle in our way is people's minds and their ability to just know that this stuff is real, it exists, and we can have it if we just get together and start doing it. That's the biggest problem, But I have to say though, and admit that 10 years ago I would have said, well, that can't be a problem. Why would that be a problem? You have to start realizing how brainwashed we can be sometimes. Yeah.
And that's why I pointed out on the show, even a little thing like Unusual Humans, there's a show on called Superhumans. Even a little thing like that, most people think it's because of some special ability they were born with, and they will cut out the part about God every single time. And every show you watch, and I've interviewed a lot of the same people myself, one-on-one, and they always give credit to God. And yet the brainwashing is you cut God out. You don't give credit to God. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And Yeah, it's kind of nuts. I came across a video that I've not it's a documentary that I haven't yet watched the whole thing, but I got to see about the first 5 minutes, and it's called Human Resource, and what it is about is the programming of humans, and I forget the fellow's name. Very famous behaviorist, I guess. They showed at the very beginning of this documentary a baby, and he says they did very, very simple experiments. They took a baby and they found out that they put a baby in front of a flame, and the baby's not afraid of anything. You put different animals in front of the baby. The baby's not afraid of anything. But what they found out very easily, the baby could be programmed to be afraid of these things. So they take this real small child that liked to pet a rabbit. I mean, these are little babies and couldn't talk or anything like that. And this baby liked to pet this rabbit because it was so soft. So they bring a rabbit out there, and the baby would like put his hand on it and kind of say, "Oh, that's so soft." But what they did was they showed that watch how easily we can make this baby not like that rabbit. And so what they did was he took a hammer and a piece of steel, and every time the baby touched the rabbit, he'd clang that thing together right behind him and completely startle the baby. Well, it didn't take long at all. We're talking minutes, and then the baby would not touch the rabbit. I mean, the baby, they'd bring the rabbit out, and the baby was terrified of the rabbit. And so that's how easily we're conditioned, and we're conditioned at birth, ongoing, to have certain ideas about things and beliefs about things. So that was a great documentary. If people wanted to look that up, it's called Human Resource, and it's really sad because that's been used. It's probably been used for a long, long time, and if they basically said it's much easier to control the population with fear than it is with love. So we're all running around afraid of things, and we're easily controlled that way.
Yeah, it's amazing, and people have been conditioned to believe that everybody that believes in God is an idiot, and that's absolutely incorrect. It's like conditioning to be afraid to pet the rabbit when, the normal thing is to love God, and God loves them, and to walk with God all your life and have blessings. That's the normal, healthy thing. But people have been conditioned from a very young age to think anybody that believes in God is a scam artist, a rip-off artist, an evil person, And really the opposite is true. Now, there are, don't get me wrong, there are agents of the dark side pretending to be ministers and then the Bible says that in those days, and it said it would happen so much more in the end times, and that's how they condition people, by having a few that look like they're real people of God, ripping everybody off and lying and stealing, and then they can help that brainwashing or help that stereotype get into everybody's head.
That's right.
And people can wake up to this stuff, and we can be free of it. And it's kind of like fleas in the jar. I think a lot of us have heard that illustration. If you take fleas, you put them in a glass jar, and you close the lid. They'll jump up and hit the lid for about an hour or so, half an hour. And then after an hour or two, you can take that lid completely off, and they're still jumping, but they won't jump where the lid is. They won't jump out of the jar. And in a sense, we're all trained that way, or conditioned, or brainwashed. We can't jump out of that jar, we can't jump out of it, but we can. With the power of God, we can. You know what I mean? God has given us like Brother Daniel Elo used to say, limits are unlimited. And so there is no limits. Just the limits are all in our brainwashing, our conditioning.
That's exactly right.
Jesus wanted to get to the other side of the lake twice. Big lake. They called it a sea or something. And it was salt water, so I guess it is a sea. But big lake, about the smallest it ever was in history, was about 12 miles across. And he literally, he didn't have a boat. He literally walked on the water. I mean, people don't realize that limits are unlimited. You don't have to swim.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. When you start realizing the possibilities of what we could be doing and what we could have around us, it in some ways it becomes very, very frustrating to go about your life every day, because you see how backward everything is. You see how cryptic and it just we do things in such a caveman-like way. I get behind a cement truck and I'm looking at all this concrete around the roads and the buildings and all this stuff. I'm going, man, there's so much infrastructure and there's so much resource and effort put into things that it doesn't really need to be like this at all. And we get so much pollution and so much waste with it, and so many people are unhappy and doing things that they don't want to be doing, and it's like it doesn't have to be this way. And
absolutely not.
And
all the solutions are here if people just work together. Now, I would like to say, I'm sorry, did you have more? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I would like to say Richard LeBuin was talking with me recently, and he shared that there is a group of brothers that have great authority in their prayers, and we're going to keep trying to join forces with them. They apparently have cleaned up entire cities where there's no criminals, nobody in jail, nobody that qualifies as a thief or a liar or a stealer or anything. And if people, like I say, people can learn to work together. So we're really hoping to connect with these people, because our team has a lot of authority, but we need a decent sized team. We need at least 100 people, but 300 would be great, to take authority and start bringing the solutions to mankind. One person can't do it. It's a world-sized job, so it's going to take at least 100 people. And Gideon even had 300 people against about 3 million that he went up against. I could be a little off on the numbers, so some people may say, well, it wasn't 3 million, it was 5 million or whatever. But whatever. Gideon had 300 men, and it was at least 100 to 1, probably 1,000 to 1 on the other side, maybe 10,000 to 1. And yet God used Gideon and his 300 men to overcome the whole enemy. And the whole enemy wound up getting so confused they wound up killing each other. And then they fled, with nothing. They left all their food and their clothes and their money and their horses. And they ran. They were so confused, and they ran away on foot. And so the people of Israel had a great spoil. In other words, all that money, all that food, all that, it was a great banquet. It was a great blessing. So God can do the same thing with the dark side now. And the dark side is, of course, unclean spirits. Now we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but they do have flesh and blood servants here. And a lot of those guys need to either repent or get put in jail, fair trial first. But these things can be fixed, and it's just a matter of people of God working together, and we can fix all these things. Amen.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a group, a lady that I know here in Texas that in Dallas they did a meditation or a prayer group. I guess they would probably call it a meditation, and they actually were successful in bringing the crime statistics down by a number of percentage points with the Dallas Police Department. And this was a controlled experiment that they did, and it really works. I mean, all we have to do is band together, and we can make anything we want happen. I guess the most insidious thing is many people don't see how they're enslaved and don't see the dark side, right, because they remain so hidden. And they're used to watching the news. They watch the news, and they don't realize that these news are not independent reporting agencies like they say they are. They're most of them are owned by the bankers and the politicians, and they're running everything. So they give you the news that they want you to hear, and they don't want to expose anything that's true. And the good news, you almost never hear about all the different solutions to all the different problems on this planet. They always want to pretend like there is no solution to the energy crisis. And really, the reality is there is no energy crisis. And we've been saying that since the first time they said there was an energy crisis, which was the first time I heard it was in the 70s, but maybe they said it back in the 50s, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't born yet. But, the first time I heard it was in the 70s. And, of course, at that time I was brainwashed like everybody else. And I thought, really? There is an energy crisis? I thought, well, I was really running out of oil? Well, of course, 10 years later, if you look at it, 10 years after that 1970, whatever it was, 76, I don't remember, whatever it was, 10 years later, we used more oil in the next 10 years than we had all since they started drilling oil in the last 100 years, right? So that tells you there really wasn't an energy crisis. And then the next 4 years, we used more oil than we had in previous, all that added together. Then the next 2 years we used, so there's no energy. Every year we're using more oil than, than we ever have before. Yeah.
So people wake up and realize this is a manufactured crisis to get people confused and get people to pay, to get people to willing to pay more and give up their freedom.
Yeah, exactly. That they create the perception of a problem, and then they create the so-called solution that they want to present. So they basically manage what you're thinking and how you believe about things and how you think about things. So they're managing all that. So we've got to break out of that shell and start thinking, real critically about everything, even the most fundamental things. So
and have you noticed more and more people exposing this stuff in recent years?
Absolutely. I mean, and it's crumbling everywhere, and more and more people are quote unquote waking up to what's going on. I mean, it's fascinating how bad it has to be to get some people to wake up, though. It's like, I mean, look at the banking and the Wall Street fraud and corruption that's going on. It's like, does anybody get this? It's like these people are robbing us, or robbing everyone blind. They are criminal. They are scam artists. They are the biggest criminals in the world, and yet they're still walking around. They still don't really talk about it on the news. They choose one or two little scapegoats, what do they call them? A pansy, or I guess it's a pansy or a potsy or something like that, where they basically throw the fish to the sharks, and a patsy, that's what it is. We get a few of those, and that's what the news reports on. But the real criminals are right in your face. Telling you, we're going to recover this, and we need to bail this out, and if we just did this, this will be better, and it's just
we just need another $10 trillion, and everything will be fine. Got to give it to the bankers. And,
exactly. Exactly. So it is. But I am seeing it crumbling more and more and more everywhere around us, and more people are starting to actually, starting to question things and starting to say, wait a minute, they really are corrupt up there. A lot of them feel very helpless, and a lot of them get. I think a lot of people, when they really start to own how corrupt and how different the world really is, I think it's a bit of a shock. It's quite a wake-up call. And
it was for me. I had like 3 of them in a row within I'd say 10, 15-year period, maybe 4 of them in a row. But you need to do it. It's called growing in the Lord, or growing in reality, if you want to say it that way. And the good news is people are waking up, and it would only take a small team of people working together to set all these things right. So this is a perfect opportunity for anybody that wants to get involved in the good news or the solutions. It fits up, it lines up perfectly with what God wants. If people are willing to look at God, that's one of the things I had to start doing, looking at God from what he actually says in the Bible, not what everybody says he says. Because if you go with what he says, I mean, even me, I tell people, don't listen to me, read it for yourself, read it, get a Bible with Jesus' words in red, read those words, the words in red will help you, they'll bless you, don't believe me, believe Jesus, and a lot of people, they're shocked to hear that kind of teaching, because most people are saying, well, listen to what I have to say. No, don't listen to what I have to say. Listen to what Jesus has to say. And, it's in there. It says right, every book of the Bible says we're supposed to be taking care of the earth. Every single book of the Bible. The last book says that Jesus is coming back, and he's going to judge those. He's going to destroy those who destroy the earth, or bring to ruin those who bring to ruin the earth. And so people, all this stuff is absolutely integral to Christianity. People, when I first started talking about it, people thought that taking care of the earth was so far out there, it had nothing to do with Christianity. But it's integral to serving God. God didn't make this planet so people could turn it into a big sewer or a big hellhole. You know what I mean? I don't say that in the cuss word side way, but he didn't want us to have hell on earth. You know what I'm saying? He wants to have paradise on earth, and that's what he told Adam and Eve. He's going to take care of this place. He's going to make it beautiful, make it better, improve it, make it bigger, and that's really, he hasn't changed his mind. God didn't change his mind one day because he decided that he needs more green credits or some foolish thing like this, People need to get it. It's pretty simple, really.
Yeah,
anyway, we invite everybody to turn in your questions, too. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But, send in your questions if you have any.
Yeah, green credits. That's another manufactured solution to a manufactured problem again.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Most of what you see on the news, wouldn't you say 90% of what you see on the news is manufactured problems and manufactured solutions or
yeah,
no solution?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But at the local level, there are genuine people out there doing really wonderful things for one another on a daily basis, and there's really good people running around. My wife sees that every day where she works. Where even though we're aware of the huge corruption, it really is a tiny percentage of the people running around. The majority of folks really want to do a really they want to live right. They want to help each other. They want to be productive for everyone. Are you okay?
sorry, I had to cough there. Sorry about that. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Brother Henry Ford, he's a wise man, and he was the first one to go against the establishment. They didn't want him mass producing automobiles. I don't know. They wanted only the elite to have automobiles. Just like today, only the elite have flying saucers, and only the elite have free energy, except for a few of us besides the elite have free energy. But you know what I'm saying? They don't like it getting. They don't like these things mass produced. And Henry Ford, they fought him pretty hard, but he actually won. And he had there's a lot to it how he won. We can go into that on a show sometime. But one of the things he said, he had some very wise sayings, and one of them is he said, there's only about I think he'd say 30 bankers. It was a small number, maybe 20 bankers, or maybe it was 10 bankers. He said there's only about 10 bankers that we got to put in prison, and we could stop all the wars on this planet. And again,
Yep.
at that time there wasn't any famine or as much like there is now. There's nothing compared to what there is now. So we could literally stop all the wars, the famine, the pestilence. If we brought these people to justice, most of the pestilence, most diseases are manufactured. Most of all the war is manufactured, and it's for more greater control. Famine manufactured. There's plenty of food if people just learn to distribute it right correctly. Most of the times, I've been involved in relief efforts, and most of the time, the food gets shipped over to the country that needs it, and it gets stuck there at the docks, and the government won't even let the people have it, and the rats wind up eating it. It's just
Right.
amazing. Not every time, thank God, but a lot of times.
Right, and
Anyway.
that's just like many of the charitable organizations out there. They're really, in a way, they may have started off with the right intention, but they become so inefficient and so bogged down with just making money, really, and not really helping the cause that they're founded on. So.
Yeah, and I would say that the dark side actively gets into any good organization,
Yeah.
and it tries to infiltrate, and then tries to get it all misled and confused, and where it's impotent or not valid
Yeah.
for the kingdom of God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what's really cool about talking with you and how Wits is aware of this stuff going on. It's we can be completely honest about things. We can just tell the truth as we understand it at the moment, and there's not really any taboo subjects here because we're just trying to. We're just working together to try and make it better for everyone. But you gotta know the truth of things. You gotta know what you're working with.
Amen.
So,
Amen. If people are confused, a lot of times they're counterproductive when they're confused. I can give you lots of examples, but there's a brother that wanted to donate something to the ministry, but he couldn't bring himself to do it, and the reason is he was confused. He didn't watch the videos that he claimed he watched, so he would have got an education about reality, and so he stayed confused, and because of that, even though God was telling him in his heart to get busy and help, he couldn't bring himself to do it. He kept seeking God and kept looking, and this happened recently. He kept looking, and finally the devil gives him he keeps looking for an excuse not to do it, and finally the devil gives him a dream where he gets attacked by a bear and barely survives, and he says, "Oh, that means I'm not supposed to help the ministry." Excuse me.
Well, yeah, you never can tell. Maybe he's not supposed to help the ministry. I don't know. So
people are supposed to help. I know for a fact he had a clear witness in his heart, and if you have a clear witness in your heart, you're supposed to help, and you're supposed to help. And if the Bible lines up with it, those two things, the Word and the Spirit.
Somehow he was led to you to begin with. So it's not
absolutely told me a number of times that he was called to help, and I know he is, and he still is, But people, if they're confused, if they won't get over all their false ideas, or some of them at least, and that's why we encourage people to watch all the videos that are up on YouTube, all 28 of them. Watch them closely because they'll help you get over a lot of the confusion. And of course, the ones here on Justin TV, which are being put up again on Vimeo. If anybody wants the link, you can write to Brother Timothy Lidke or write to us at the ministry. I'll try to give it to you. But they're also being put up. But they'll help people get over a lot of common confusions that are out there, or common brainwashing that are out there, and help people to see the light, see what's really going on this planet. And really what's going on this planet is the people of God are working hard to bring these things to light, and we are getting closer all the time. So it's up to people just to join forces and start working on these things so we can make this world a blessed place.
Yeah, I completely agree. How about if we switch gears for just a couple of minutes and talk a little technical stuff?
Sure, we do have a few questions, but yeah, we can get to those after the technical stuff. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the questions. I know Greg may have shot you a question tonight, but I tell you, he's really interested in this whole new way of looking at physics and the way the reality works and the way electrical power may be generated and things like that. One of the things that he's been experimenting with lately is I would say a miniature Van de Graaff generator. It's they sell it as a toy, but this is a little plastic and cardboard tube with a belt in the middle of it, and it runs off of a couple of batteries, and you hold it in your hand, and when you press the button, it spins this belt just like a Van de Graaff generator, and it produces a charge on the end of the thing, and you can feel this wind coming off the end of the I guess it's the ions coming off the end of this wand or this stick, and they use it just to play with little light mylar ribbons in the air where you can sort of push them around. It's kind of like you can rub a balloon on a piece of wool and stick it to the ceiling or something. It's that kind of thing. But the fascinating thing is this: we were talking about this the other day, and I go, well, that's really interesting. And one thing that he did was he got a couple of people here, and we all held hands. So we were all holding hands, and then the last person would he would basically, okay, I know how it worked now. He would hold the stick, I would hold the end of the stick, so I would be accepting the charge off the end of the stick, and I was holding hands with a Cameron here. He's this guy's like really curious about this. I think he's only 8 or something, and he just loves playing with this thing. And we sat there. So I held the stick, and Cameron was holding me, and Greg was sort of on the ground end of the stick. He wasn't connected with us, other than he was on the base end of the Van de Graaff generator. Now we would just hold it there for just maybe 30 or maybe a minute, 30 seconds, something like that. And then Cameron would reach around, and he could shock Greg and pull a great big arc. I mean, we're talking like an inch. I'm going, this is a little toy. This is awesome. How can you build up such a large charge? And I'm going, well, that's fascinating. And I got to talking to Greg. I go, okay, well, so what is different about the particles that is collecting from a generator like this, and say a high voltage transformer or discharge like that comes off either a Tesla coil, or a high voltage, say a flyback transformer, or even one of these devices they call an ion generator that they use like for room air purification and things like that. Is there a difference between the particles coming off these things? We just we classify all this stuff as, oh, well, that's just static electricity. That's ion wind. But it's like, you talk about, well, there's all sorts of there's hundreds of particles out there, and that's how these machines that you guys build work. So I was going to ask you to talk about that maybe a little bit. Is there differences between how some of these particles are made with mechanical means and how we can make high voltages and look like we get some of the same things, but maybe they're different? So maybe you could talk about that.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. The subatomic particles have been categorized now at over 200 different types of subatomic particles: quarks, leptons, muons. It just goes on and on. There's a tremendous number of these subatomic particles, and ions are the same way. Just like just an ion is an atom that either has extra electrons or less electrons, and sometimes they'll even call that with protons or neutrons. If it's missing a neutron or missing a proton, sometimes they call that an ion too, but technically it's probably not an ion. But if it has extra electrons or lesser electrons than normal, then it's an ion. And that is an atom still. And this happens right in the air. It happens off of these machines. And so every type of air and every type of machine can produce a different set of ions, a different set of these patterns. And these patterns, if they're a different set, they can have different characteristics. And that's what people don't realize. A lot of people are used to electrons, and they're thinking that electrons is where everything's at, and that's all there is. And they don't realize that there's literally hundreds of different kinds of different categories of these particles. We've got people that want to use the cafe, but we've rented it till 12:30, so they have to leave us alone. So they'll have to come back in a half hour is what they have to do. But anyway, so they don't realize that there's literally hundreds of different kinds of ions and hundreds of different kinds of energy patterns that are subatomic. In other words, electron isn't the only kind of subatomic. There's literally, but they tend to be in patterns or in groups. And that way, once you understand that, then it's much easier to look at it. And we always define it as a triune polar field, which is the subatomic universe. Electrons will fit in there, but it's better to think of them as a separate type of field because they wind up mixing with all these others. And and these ion fields, every single generator that's different from the other generator. If you've changed one ingredient, and let's say the belt has more carbon in it than the other belt, well, the one with more carbon is going to produce a little bit different ion combination than the one with less carbon. Yeah. And same thing with the brushes. They change the brush material that hits the belt, and that changes the ions a little bit also. And so, you can get amazing things happening with these type of machines, and they really do illustrate like the orbit of the planets around the sun. They illustrate how the planets are held at the right distance. They illustrate a large number of things. The lightning, where lightning comes from. They illustrate even on the sun. There's these solar flares, and they're basically huge electrical arcs. And these machines help you understand where these things come from and how they arise and so on. It's fascinating stuff. I encourage everybody to get one of those $20 wands and play with it. It might benefit you, and you might learn quite a bit.
Yeah, one of the other things that I started thinking about is that it appears that I don't know. I kind of sort of drew out an interesting circuit with a capacitor or some capacitors, and it's like, well, you put some capacitors in series, and electrons. Let's talk about electrons are not supposed to flow across insulators, and so you have a capacitor. But you can put a capacitor in a circuit, and you supposedly get current flow through the circuit through a capacitor, but the capacitor is acting like a brake in the circuit. So what's interesting about that is it's kind of like I'm going, okay, well, it seems like the capacitor somehow the circuit is acting as a well or a pump, where the actual energy is coming from somewhere else. It's this, you're connecting up things, and you think you understand how it's working by electron flow, but that's not what's happening. It's like you're creating charges. You're creating different charges at different levels in different parts of the circuit, and energy is flowing in or being dissipated in some way. And so.
Absolutely. That's very good. That's a very good deduction. Very good. I give you guys both an A+ for your deductive reasoning. That's good. That's good. Yeah, people. The more you study these things, the more you realize that there's a lot of different ways things can happen, and extra energy is just one of those things that can happen. Extra energy. Virtually everything you can imagine is in ionic and subatomic universe, or the quantum field, if you want to say it that way. And teleportation, invisibility, anti-gravity, just basically everything you can imagine is there. It's just a matter of, engineering, basically. Engineering, and, that, of course, costs money and time and all that stuff. But the good news is a lot of it's already been done. And so, people that are interested in time dilation fields, and I was talking to a brother the other day interested in that, and Brother John Ritter, he might be a guest on our show one of these days. He's a minister with the military, and he was interested in time dilation fields. And so I was talking with him a little bit about that. And then there's also time travel, and people that are interested in knowing what tomorrow is today. This type of thing is doable. People could, if you think about it, the possibilities are unlimited if this type of thing was perfected. To where, just because I know how to do it doesn't mean it's perfected and that I'm using it. If I was using it, I'd be a lot wealthier than most people would believe. It's because you can literally know. You can literally know what the drawing is going to be tomorrow for the lottery, or what the stock market's going to be tomorrow. You know what I mean? Yeah, you could literally send messages back through time, and we've already done this, so it is provable, but it needs to be stabilized and perfected. So there's still development work involved. Although the top secret agencies, the rumor is that they have perfected. I'm not sure on the time travel part. If the government agencies have perfected it or not, there's a rumor that they have, and of course, some people have watched the Montauk, the Montauk experiments or Montauk project, where they're talking. They got these two guys talking about, and supposedly, according to them, they time travel back and forth all the time, and they've got it perfected and all this. But I'm not convinced on the time travel part. They do have the wormhole technology for great distances perfected, and it is easy to get time dilation accidentally in those type of systems, and time travel too, not just dilation, but time travel in those type of systems, where you wind up arriving a day before you left, or arriving the day after, missing day or whatever, this type of thing. So, anyway, it's fascinating stuff. Shall we?
It really is. Questions? Yeah, let's go ahead and go to the questions. That was sort of enough. I just was it was very intriguing this week when Greg was bringing some of those subjects up, and it's like for some of the things that I've seen on the bench and measured with a different equipment and so forth, it's like this stuff isn't working like we're taught how it works, because there are too many occasions where I've seen exceptions of this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So
absolutely, it's good to keep an open mind. God's working with both of you guys there to help you see more, and it's great. It's wonderful to be able to see and look into the mysteries of the universe and learn more about these things. We got Brother Randy who asked, and thank you, Brother Randy, for your questions. We appreciate it. He's a regular brother who writes us all the time, and just a wonderful guy. And he's got a dear wife, and a son, if I remember right. They're all wonderful people. He asks, if the earth is finite, where are the resources to come from to make things better? That's Brother Randy, and that's a good question. Would you want to answer that, brother, or you want me to?
Well, it's kind of funny, because that's what I was. In one way, I was just talking about that. It's like you have electric, quote unquote electron flow or current flow in a circuit, but you can, if you examine a circuit a particular way, it's like the power isn't coming from the circuit. The power is coming from somewhere else, and it's not necessarily coming from the air. It's coming from something much smaller, or much more hidden than where we're typically looking. And so I would say there is no finite anything. We can have as much as we can dream up. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. If we're willing to do the work to get it, and God will help us, because He is an infinite God. He wants us to have infinite. He doesn't want us to have shortages, air shortages. Here in this city, you got an air shortage. It's crazy. There's not enough clean air to go around. It's amazing. That's man. That's not God. You know what I mean? God has plenty of air.
Exactly.
There's no air shortage, no energy shortage. In other words, God will show us how to solve all these issues. And you think about it, He took the Israelites. There was at least 3 million of them. It says there were 600,000 able-bodied men. So you can imagine that each able-bodied man, on the average, probably had a wife and maybe 4 or 5 kids. So there's probably 3 million of these people that went into the desert. And that desert, I've been there today. It's as dry and bleak as you can possibly imagine. and God gave him water and food every day. Again, manna came from heaven. Well, you have a finite universe. Where does manna come from? Well, it comes from God. The floodgates of heaven. There is no shortages with God. He is the source of all good things. So that's a good question, brother, and we're glad we had a chance to answer it. I think it'll edify a few people to realize that there is no shortages with God. God is a God of abundance. Let's see, we have in the next one, it says, Sir Timothy, and it's from Brother Lidke. Sir Timothy, have you ever seen elements transmuted, lead to gold, etc., or something like that? And the answer is absolutely yes, and it's totally doable. It shows up accidentally anytime you have dominant energy. If the polar of the energy is a little more higher than it should be, then the lead often will start getting gold flecks on it, it'll start. Actually, I've seen it where you pull out a lead plate and it's just covered with gold on both sides. You can literally scrape it off with a knife. That is common. Let's see, the next one is also from Brother Lidke. It says, Sir Timothy, do you know about T. Henry Moray's metallurgical process that he used to treat metals, and if they are related to element transmutation? Yeah, absolutely. He was using dominant energy polar. He was a master, and he wasn't with the ministry. The ministry didn't know about him. He knew about the ministry, but he was one of the few guys that was sort of independent. He's a good Mormon brother, and back then a lot of Mormons were excellent people. He was a hard worker, and
that doesn't mean that there aren't good people out there now either. In other words, it wasn't
right. I would say there was an abundance of excellent people in the Mormon church back in those days. And now, I don't know. I'm not going to say. But anyway, God loves them all, and we love them all. I've ministered in Mormon churches. I think some of them are good people. And actually the brother, well, I better not say. But anyway, so there's some good people out there that are Mormons. But Brother Henry Moray was a Mormon, and he did do some excellent work with metallurgy. He could take one of his demos. He could take any material, 5 nines, in other words, 99.999 pure, and give it to him, and in about an hour, he could convert up to 6 or 8% of that into gold, or he could also do it into silver with different machines that he had developed. And there, it's all dominant energy. So 6 or 8% of anything. Let's say it's graphite. I'm not graphite. I meant to say gypsum. Let's say it's gypsum, which is not, it's anything. You could make 6 or 8% out of it. Gypsum dissolves in water. You could dissolve it in water. The gold would go to the bottom, and you could take the gold out. So he had an excellent process, and you could recycle the gypsum. Any kind of material that would be easy to separate the gold out of. This would be a very good process, and this could be done again. In other words, it wasn't lost technology. The basics are you got to have more dominant energy in your system than you think you need, and you got to keep it stable. So there's a little more with stability than a normal free energy electrical system, but it is totally doable. And I knew a guy that was actually one of our guys that was messing with some stuff he shouldn't have been messing with, and he wound up getting a huge dominant energy arc. And he literally had gold come out all over his hand. Just the skin turned to gold, literally. And they were picking off pieces of it as they were taking him to the hospital. He got a huge arc, a huge shock, electrical shock of dominant energy, polar energy. And he had that gold was coming out of him for the next 6 months. He was picking pieces of gold out of his hand.
That's wild. That's an awesome story there.
True story. I've tried to get him on as a guest. He's kind of wishy-washy whether he wants to be on as a guest. He's afraid. Different people have been killed. When you start transmuting metals, that is one of the things that you really don't have permission from the dark side to do. And so
the bankers don't like that.
Yeah, the bankers, they want to own all the gold. They don't want to have to buy any from you. So if you start transmuting metals, just keep it quiet. That type of thing. And that's why he's very careful. I've tried to have him on the show a few times. He may eventually come on, but we may have to just do voice only and do a voice disguise. So to keep him happy, he doesn't want to get in trouble. He is still doing it. He's still making gold and platinum and palladium, all the precious metals. So iridium, rhodium, those are worth probably $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 an ounce. Some of that stuff.
Ooh wee.
Yeah. So he's still doing it. He's if he was, he's a little dysfunctional ever since he had the electrical shock. Mentally, he's a little dysfunctional. So he could be a great blessing to the ministry, but for some reason he can't bring himself to actually turn loose of it, to help the ministry or help the world yet. Although we believe God's working on him. So we can make this thing happen. There's a lot of different ways we can make it happen. We could rebuild all of his equipment, but if he's already doing it and he's successful, he claims, and I think it's true, he has probably in the range of 100 tons of this mixture that's about 10%, 10 carat platinum. One more process, and it's 10. One more process you got to run it through, but it's a simple process, and it's 10 carat platinum. But right now, it's just a huge piles of this powder that's underneath tarps where he's doing his operation. He calls it I forget what he calls it. He calls it mining or something, but there's really transmutation that's going on there. But platinum is apparently for him the easiest metal to get out of. He gets it right out of any stream, any mountain stream, any mountain stream, any of the water basically. Gets it right out of the water. 10 carat.
That's a lot less trouble than having to mine hard rock out of these holes and tunnels.
His little operation is about the size of you walk into the room and there's barely standing room only. It's a small office basically, and the machinery takes up most of the room, and so it's just basically a small office, and there's just standing room only for 2 or 3 people in there, and he's all of his equipment is doing. The stream comes in, the equipment processes the water a certain way, and the metals fall out, and he's got this rich concentrate. He doesn't even do anything else with it. There's one more process. He stores it that way, and there's one more process you got to run it through. And it becomes 10 carat platinum, which some people know what 14 karat gold is. You got 10 karat gold, you got 8 karat gold. Same thing with platinum. You got on gold, 24 karat is pure. On platinum, I don't know what, maybe 24 karat all. I don't know, but who knows? But same thing with silver. There's these carats. It has to do with the percentage of how and it is a sellable. At 10 carats, it is a sellable product.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, it is remarkable. You get that right out of the river. And he literally, he can do about, on a good day, he can do about 30 pounds of this stuff.
Wow.
30 pounds. And each ounce is probably, I don't know, 300 or 400. Even though it's 10 karat, it's not going to be worth as much as, pure platinum. So each ounce is probably, I don't know, maybe $100, worth $100 or something. Sell it all in all. So he's, this is doable, and he's doing it. And he's not the only one. There's other people I know that are doing it, but they have to keep it very, very secret, and they're afraid to sell it because they don't want to get in trouble. And they got all this huge pile and this huge storage. Another guy I know from Alaska, he did this for a while, and he stored it in 50-gallon drums. He has this concentrate in 50-gallon sealed drums. He fill them up with this concentrate and seal them. He got them in his backyard, and he has about 1,000 of these drums, and he's storing it up. I mean, these are the treasures. This guy, he's busting the God, basically. He's just storing it up. I mean, I told him he should give us a drum, especially since both of these guys, we helped them get started. Funny how people are. A lot of people, you help them, and then they get where they want to be, and then they can't seem to turn loose of it. But anyway, one of these days, God will deal with them, and we're trusting God. One way or another, it'll happen.
Well, you have any more questions there?
I think that's it. Let's see. Yeah, no, that's it. That's good. We're gone a little bit over time, so it's good to have everybody. It's good to welcome. I want to thank everybody for being on the show, and everybody's welcome every week, and we want to have everybody back. And thank you everybody for their questions. Thank you, Brother Martin, for being on the show. And if you have anything else, we'll close, I guess.
Let's see. I don't have anything else. I don't have anything else.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody, and keep on keeping on. Spread the word, and as the Lord leads you, donate to this cause. It is important for people to get financial blessings to donate to a worthy cause. God will multiply your whatever you donate. If you donate $10 a month, He'll make sure you get 20 more the next month. That's just the way God is. God is not stingy. He always gives back more if you donate to a worthy cause and if you donate in faith. Those two things, in other words, you believe that God's going to bless you for donating. And you have to donate. If you donate to these worthless causes, God's not going to bless that, because a lot of them are doing the opposite of what they claim. The ones looking for healing of cancer, a lot of them are promoting the frauds instead of promoting the solution. Same thing in free energy. There's a lot of people out there that are promoting the frauds and trying to make the real thing look bad. So you got to be careful. You got to listen to the leading of the Lord. But we encourage people and thank everybody that they have been faithful to this cause, and God is going to bless everybody, and God's riches and best. Until next week, God's riches and best be yours. Amen.
All right. Well, that'll be it for tonight, and I'm going to sign us off.
All right. Thank you.